Hello and welcome to Old Nerd Reads The Batman Adventures. I picked up issue 1 and 2 in a Whatnot auction. Uh, I don't remember what I paid for them. I remember thinking that it was a pretty good deal anyway. These are kind of collectible. They're worth a little bit of money. I think they're worth more money if you have the newsstand probably editions. These are the direct editions. Uh, but usually newsstand editions are worth more. But since these were targeted probably to a younger audience, by the time they got off a newsstand in some little kid's hands, they probably mostly got mangled, I'm guessing. This came out in 92. Uh, this would be right around the same time as the Image explosion. Image Comics, I think, was getting going right about this time. And it seems like a lot of the talent that was working for Marvel and DC at the time left for Image, and it left DC and Marvel, I felt, in kind of a crappy looking place. I didn't care for the artists that came in to fill the shoes of the big guns when they left for the most part. I didn't really read DC at the time, and still don't read DC that much. Um, I have several DC comics in my collection, and I've read them periods of some of the titles here and there over the years, but mostly I've read Marvel. Uh, this comic is based on Batman the Animated Series, very popular cartoon from back at the same time. It must have started maybe a year before this, the cartoon did. I'm not sure. But this came out due to the popularity of that show. Um, let's see. I believe the writer, Kelly Puckett, maybe worked on a script for the first season of Batman the Animated Series. The editor of this comic is Scott Peterson, and I believe he also worked on a little bit of season 1 of the animated series, Batman the Animated Series. But there's an editorial write up here at the end. Whoops, stand up. That talks about how the comic came about, and I'm guessing this was written by Scott Peterson, who was, I guess, yeah, Scott Peterson. He was, I guess, an assistant editor, an associate editor on the Batman line prior to this, and he was given the job of doing the adaptation of the animated series, putting out a comic based on the animated series. And it was decided that they didn't want to adapt episodes of the animated series for the comic series, so these are all new stories set in the same universe. Kelly Puckett, the writer, was chosen because he'd done a little bit of Batman work. He was a freelancer, I believe, writer, and he was chosen by Scott Peterson. He Kelly Puckett, I remember from working on the Batman or the Batgirl comic that came out in 2000. That was really hot for a minute as well. Uh, I don't remember much about it anymore. I remember that it was a different Batgirl, and she wore a mask that covered her face completely. You couldn't see any of her face, I believe. Um, and I don't remember much about it. I believe the character came out of the Batman storyline, No Man's Land, maybe. Uh, can't remember, but that's what I remember Kelly Puckett for. I read a little bit of that back in the day, but I don't remember any of it. Um, Ty Templeton, penciler, he did the first 2 issues, and then he was kind of in and out. And then towards the end of the series lasted 30 some issues. Ty Templeton came back, but he wasn't penciler then. He was writing. He wrote a few of the stories. Kelly Puckett pretty much stayed on the title the whole time, with a few people stepping in here and there. Um, Rick Burchett pretty much stayed on as the inker the whole time, I believe. But this was just a fun story. In the editorial at the back, it talks about the genesis of this story and how Kelly Puckett and Scott Peterson decided that they wanted to do kind of a 3-issue-ish arc. So the issue 1, 2, and 3 all had like an independent story in each one, but with an underlying connective storyline in the background. that culminates, I guess, in the third issue, which I don't have. I haven't read. Um, and I don't think I'll get it. I will, I guess, if I come across a nice one at a good price, I'd pick it up just to add to these two. But yeah, just that I have the first two issues, I'm pretty happy. Just to have the first two issues, these will just go in my personal collection as like basically like collector's items. Just they're nice copies of comics that are moderately sought after, moderately worth something. Just go in my collection, kind of like a savings account kind of deal. I'll just put it in there with a couple others that I have like that I don't necessarily collect them, but since they are worth a little bit of money and I do have a nice copy, I'll just put them aside in their own long box. The second one is a cool Catwoman story. Takes place mostly in London. She robs the royal jewels or whatever they're called. And Batman travels to London to take care of her, put her out of commission, basically, and he does. Not without a fight, though. She puts up a good fight. She does end up stealing the crown jewels, but Batman, of course, gets them back at the end at a thrilling climactic fight on top of Big Ben. This is a cool advertisement for Doomsday. That looks really good. That's a cool page. They had some posters in here. I just passed them. Poster by Bart Sears of Eclipso. I guess that's because the summer of '92, the crossover event for DC was what was it? Was it just called Eclipso? I can't remember. Like all the annuals or something like that. Got a girl vigilante poster. This is actually drawn by Mike Zeck, it says, of the Punisher the original Punisher miniseries. He did the art on that. He did an awesome run on Captain America in the late '70s, early '80s. He drew Secret Wars, the first Secret Wars series, most of it. I wouldn't have been able to tell that was Mike Zeck, though. It doesn't look like Mike Zeck at all to me. And Nightwing, drawn by Art the Bear. Kind of the '90s style going on there for Nightwing. But yeah, this issue 2 is a Catwoman story. Issue 1, Penguin story. But both of these stories are set in motion in this issue, when Catgirl receives a gift, and in this issue, when Penguin receives a gift. And it's a TV, a two-way TV, and it turns out to be from the Joker. Joker just wants Penguin to steal something for him, and at the same time making it worth his while, he can steal a bunch of money and set himself up high and mighty in Gotham. And he does. He succeeds and gets on television, gets interviewed. But, of course, Batman is suspicious and knows there's got to be something up. Ganthet's Tale. That one's one with art by John Byrne, written by sci-fi novelist extraordinaire Larry Niven. I just recently did an old nerd book review of The Mote in God's Eye, written by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. That was a very good story. So I remember I owned Ganthet's Tale, and I read it long ago. I don't remember much about it. I basically owned it because of John Byrne, because I'm a John Byrne fan. Didn't really know anything about Larry Niven, though, when I read it. I remember thinking it was good, but I don't remember anything about it. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that again. But yeah, this was just a fun Batman versus Penguin and his henchman story, with artwork that is very reminiscent of the cartoon series. I have the entire animated series on Blu-ray. I have to sit down and watch all that sometime. But yeah, these are basically just, I guess, investments. They were a fun read. If I was a bigger Batman fan, I might enjoy them more. I've never been a big Batman person, though. I've read periods of his titles and certain miniseries or one-shots or annuals. There's no end to the amount of Batman comics that you can find from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. There's tons, especially the later it went, the more into the 80s and into the 90s, Batman just got more popular, and they just put out more limited series, more one-shots, more Elseworlds, like all kinds of Batman out there. And I've read a modest amount of it, but I was never a die-hard, read every issue of every Batman title guy. But if I was, I would probably continue with this fun little series for younger readers, but still good. But for me, just a piece to add to the museum, my collection museum piece for my collection. So that's Batman, the Batman Adventures 1 and 2, read and reviewed and discussed by your old pal, Old Nerd. If you know any other Batman the Animated Series or Batman Adventure fans out there, please share it with them. Leave a comment down below with what you think of the animated series or the Batman Adventures comic. And a like would be nice. I also do a series on this channel where I'm reading my Marvel comics in order, currently in 1977, and I read an issue and do a little video on each issue I read. So if that sounds cool, please subscribe. And I hope I see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.